and placed a high value on helping others. She was always perky and upbeat, and she had a fire for life, a big heart always ready to make a difference. My grandmother, Helen, raised her kids on welfare because her father was a traveling salesman and showed up now and then. She was the middle child with an older brother and sister, Diane and Frank, and a younger brother, sister, Roger and Penny. Her older brother taught her to read when she was 3 years old. And when she went to school at 5 years old, the teacher made her a teacher's assistant. She would read picture books to the other kindergartners. 1953, my grandmother, Helen, was preparing to move to Las Vegas with my grandfather, and by then her older brother had moved to Berkeley, and her older sister had married. She would not go with her mom, and she didn't know what she would do, but she refused to go. And my grandmother, without my mom knowing, spoke to the principal at her school and found a family who wanted a mother's helper. She then moved in with the Matson family, and she lived there with the Matsons for the rest of her high school and the rest of her first year of college. In 1955, she graduated from Inglewood High School as valedictorian, and with the help of her surrogate family, received scholarships to go to UCLA. She worked in the catalog department of the UCLA main library until she graduated. In 1960, she graduated with a BA in psychology, a major she had decided on when she was in second grade. She thought she might be able to figure out her father, and she believed she figured out more about herself than her father. In December, she met her future husband, Ralph, my dad, and his brother Jim was dating her good friend Barbara Hammer, and Ralph was invited to a party at the sorority where her friend Bonnie lived. They married in a church in West Los Angeles, and my mom's father, my grandfather, came to the wedding, and it was a surprise to her because she hadn't seen him in some years. 1961, my brother Dennis was born, a beautiful carrot redhead, and they moved to student housing in San Jose so that my dad could get his master's in physics and mathematics. Mom and Dad moved from student housing to Santa Monica, and I remember the beach and building forts with blocks and playing at the beach and learning when I was 3 never to turn your back on waves. Mom and Dad moved into a new home in Saratoga near a nice school after that. I remember walking to Argonaut School with Dennis in a nice neighborhood with a girl named Annette, who was our neighbor. Mom was always home whenever I got home from school. And Mom and Dad let our cousin Debbie live with us. And she helped Mom, and we liked having her around while she was there. Around 1969, my dad spent long hours at work at Lockheed Corporation. He was a programmer and engineer for developing calculations for launching satellites into orbit and autopilot for aircraft. He was also offered a job in Texas working on the first moon landing, but he didn't really want to live in Houston. Around that time, Bonnie's mother-in-law, my grandmother Florence, died of a heart attack. My dad was crushed, and he took time off work and later decided to move to the country. We moved to Bodega in 1969, and we helped our neighbor Clayton Ward build his house. We lived with him and also in a tent on our property for a while. And Mom sold the house in Saratoga, and we moved to Sonoma County permanently. Dad's friends from Santa Clara and Stanford and local friends helped build our dome house, and the whole shell went up in one day. The acoustics were great, and our friend Norm played concerts for us, and everyone came to hear. We had a very nice, supportive community. We all got together for Christmas and holidays and April Fool's parties and enjoyed each other's company. Dad started his architecture business with 2 partners, Paul Timberman and Don Hall, who were both architects, called Sun House Design. Mom returned to college to study psychology, and she graduated in 1976 with a master's degree from Sonoma State University. And shortly after Mom moved out, she built a house up the hill with a nice man named Jerry Bryan. She had a peacock. Hi, Jerry. If she had a peacock, I don't know what the name of the peacock was, but she enjoyed the beauty of all its feathers. Mom enjoyed seminars at the house with her friends to improve life and transform attitudes. She always worked with me to have a positive attitude and overcome adversity. She lost her son Dennis, my older brother, to a motorcycle in 1980 and turned this life-changing tragedy into a positive life change. She sold her house in 1981 and moved to Italy and started a job in 1982 at the Naval Air Academy in Pozzuoli, Italy. Then in 1983, she stayed on and worked as an instructor to business people and other adults in Naples. Then in Gaeta, Italy is where she ended up teaching English and psychology through the city of Chicago. When I visited, she lived in a little town called Gaeta, where the Navy ship was docked. She worked there for 4 years and practiced psychology with the crew of the ship. She made some nice friends with local people and made her life there. She always encouraged me to stay and live in Italy, so much so that she bought me a one-way ticket. She encouraged me to apply for school at university in Rome and study in Italy. I did apply, yet they felt my Italian needed work and suggested I learn more Italian and return with more credentials. Months later, we had planned to meet on the Spanish Steps. I wanted to see her after she returned home from Greece and before she went to Dubai. We met in Rome on the Spanish Steps. We had lunch. She asked me to find a job in Rome, and I was afraid, and I didn't speak Italian, so I returned home to California after several months on the carbon copy of Mom's American Express card. I visited Italy for several years. Thank you, Mom. I was overjoyed to be with her in Gaeta. I was able to run around town and down to the sea for exercise. Mom suggested I go where the Navy ships were. I found a bar by the ship. The owner asked me to play records. I became a DJ for the night. I played records and tapes until the bar closed. Thank you, Mom. During Christmas break, Mom and I went to the Italian Alps near Cortina, where the 1956 Olympics were held. Mom wasn't a skier, but she encouraged me to go skiing, and I did. There was a town called Ortisai in the Dolomite Mountains. Thank you, Mom. My mom stayed in Italy and returned to California reluctantly after her contract with the Navy was over. Bonnie worked, when she returned, she worked for social advocates for youth in Healdsburg, dealing with all kinds of life challenges and helping kids grow to where they are today. Bonnie was a huge advocate of staying fit, and she was involved in a program called Think Thin. One person had a great influence, showed up in Kauai with her husband on their honeymoon, and I was renting cars at the time, was able to see them, and she was very happy to be thin and married. Some years later, Mom returned to school in Monterey and attended the Monterey Institute of International Studies. She designed and developed and administered business tests for MBA students at the Institute of International Studies, and she graduated in 1999. After graduating, Mom moved to many countries, including Guatemala, Romania, and back to Italy. And I remember calling from the internet phone for free while she was in an internet cafe over those years. She returned from her world travels to live in Sebastopol for the last 20 years of her life until passing, and went to the cookie company regularly every morning for her cookie and decaf latte. Bonnie met every year with her three friends, Sandy, Carol, and Carol, every year for the next 47 years. She taught me to be mentally strong in all ways, and she taught me the power of positive thinking and encouraged my spiritual growth. She hosted nice Christmas parties with friends and games and potluck, and she liked to have a few friends, maybe a Trivial Pursuit game or something similar. She had a gift-giving game where you stole each other's presents, and it was always fun and loving. She loved these things called poppers, where you pull the ends out and Pippetti comes out. Thank you, Mom, for all the joy that you have brought our lives. We know you're at peace, enjoying a sunset somewhere in Italy, snuggling with dogs, forever free. Thank you very much. You can clap if you want. It's all good. All right, so now I would love it if I could find my sister. Sis, Stacy. I don't know where she is. And somebody else, if anybody else has a word or two to say. Do we, Eric, can we take the microphone, or do we just ask folks to come up here? What would be the easiest? Come up here. Anybody feels like coming up, we'd love to hear from you. Fantastic. Let's start with Marty, and then, no, that's great.
That's great. Thank you. I'm Martin Webb. I had the privilege to serve as many years principal of Anley High School, and I knew Bonnie through the cookie company because we'd have coffee every morning. And she loved my dog Wyatt, who was a big black German wire hair. And I had the privilege, she watched him several times for weeks at a time. I had the privilege in 2019 to be selected to run a camp at the World Scout Jamboree, and I was gone 3 weeks. And she took care of Wyatt during that whole time. Now, when Wyatt came back home, I had to retrain him that he didn't get to sleep in the bed. I had to retrain him about a couple other things about treats. But those of us who would go every morning and have coffee at the cookie company when we were all inside and so forth, we just loved Bonnie. My family had Bonnie several times over for Christmas Eve dinner, Easter, and other times. And we all enjoyed having Bonnie there. And of course, we were very, very sad when Bonnie passed, but she's in our prayers, and I do think about her. And I know that she's up there with Wyatt right now because he passed away, the dog. And I bet she's taking very good care of him. He's probably sleeping on her bed. So, thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Hi, I'm Pat McKenzie from SRJC.
Stand closer to the mic.
Okay. Maybe it's my height. Okay. All right. Thank you, Peter. My name is Pat McKenzie. I worked with Bonnie at SRJC. When I was in my 20s, I met Bonnie in a mime class. And I mean Marcel Marceau, mime. I connected with her right away. I felt like, wow, what a free spirit, what a really cool person. And then years later, when I joined the SRJC ESL faculty, I met her again, and it was like the connection was still right there on an artistic, creative level. And working with her, she was so supportive. She worked for the English Language Fellow program through the State Department like I did. She went to Romania, I went to Azerbaijan, and when I announced that I was going, she says, "We have to have lunch. I just want to tell you all about my experience, and this is going to be so great for you." And it was like a big leap, and she was just the most amazing, supportive person. So I miss her sense of freedom and creativity and her absolute loving support at all times. She is a force to reckon with still. Thanks.
Thank you, Pat. Come on up, Jerry. I might have to bring the microphone to you folks if you're not going to come up here, so just a warning.
Whoa. I'm a short person. I always thought Marty was shorter than me, but I think he's taller. I've known you a long time, you know. I knew him when he had hair. Anyway, my name is Jerry Lights. I knew Bonnie for a long time. I was on the police department for almost 27 and a half years, and she didn't cause any trouble, just letting you know. She was one of those people that was highly respected, and I knew her most of my career, and I used to hear things about her, and it was just a pleasure to get to know her all these years. And later I met Ryan, and that wasn't so good, but anyway, she did a good job. He'll hit me harder later when we get out. But anyway, I was trying to think. I wanted to just share and just say how much I appreciated Bonnie and over the years that I knew her. And I thought, well, I'm not going to say anything. But then, now we have these things called cell phones, iPhones. And I didn't have Bonnie written in there because I think when I got my iPhone, I hadn't run into her and I didn't get her name in there. But in the old days, we used to have these things called, what's a little thing you used to carry? No. Anyway, it's one of the things you can put phone numbers in there and all that. You just can't call on it. And anyway, I had one of those still left, and once in a while I go in and I look in there for names that from the old days, and I found Bonnie's name in there. And I looked it up, and I had made notes. I retired on January the 15th of 2002, and she called me 1 week later on the 22nd. And I wrote down notes of what she said that day when she called, and I'm glad I did, because the first thing she said was, "You have my old phone number." When she lived over in Occidental, when she left and came over here, they had to give her a new phone number. And so later, when we moved in our house in '86, they gave us this number, 874-3949. I shouldn't tell you that. You'll probably be calling me now. But anyway, so we have her old number, so we have that connection with her. That was the first thing she said. But the reason she was calling, she's going through a really tough time. And so before I retired, just to kind of back up the reason, there's two of us that are pastors of the church in Bodega Bay. And we became pastors because our pastor left, and we both took the pulpit. We'd take turns, and we did that for quite a while. And to this day, we still haven't found anybody to take our place. I was the lieutenant and interim police chief in Sebastopol, and Pat Parks, the other one, was the chief of police in Petaluma. And we only live a mile apart, which is really closer than I wanted to be to Pat. But we are still pastors there. And so she called me and said, "I'm going through a really tough time right now. And there was a verse in the Bible that had to do with that. Do you know what that is?" And I looked it up, and I found it, and I had written all this down in my little, Palm Pilot. That's what they called him. Does that ring a bell with anybody? All right, 3 people nodded their head, yes. Anyway, but that verse I looked up, it came from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And it said, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." I thought, whoa, that was pretty good, that I wrote that down. But the last thing was, she was asking what is going on with me, and I said, well, I'm retired, but I'm still working. We do our pastors. But Pat and I also, for quite a while, have been trainers for missionaries going into hostile environments or other countries. And I think I've done training in 18 different countries. And we do crisis management, personal safety, hostage survival. And if somebody is taken hostage, we would actually go and negotiate. And our group collectively, about a dozen of us, have handled about 100 hostage takings around the world in the last 40-something years. One case was not successful. All the rest of them have been. But anyway, I told her that I was just getting ready to go to United Arab Emirates to teach a seminar. And she said, "I have friends who are over there. If you'd like, I can tell them you're coming." And they're a young couple. And so I got in touch with them. And I got there, I finished my class, I stayed there, and they took me camping out in the desert. Young couple, they didn't have any kids, and they were teaching English in the university and the colleges there. And they said, "You can go camping with us." So we took off across the desert, and I remember we were going across the desert in the UAE, and the guy said, "I know this place is over here somewhere." And I'm going like, all we see is camels and donkeys, and every once in a while we see a tree, and good thing no dogs there, they wouldn't have anywhere to go. But then we finally made it to the border. We went across the border into the other country, Oman. And the thing I remember, they had a guard there, one guard. And there's 2 things to remember about the guard. He was well armed, and the second thing I remember was he had no sense of humor. And so, but he did let us go across the border, and we camped out in Oman. I'm going like, wow, how in the world did I get to do this? And it's because of Bonnie that I got to have that experience. And I really appreciated her lining me up with these folks. Got to be friends with them and just had a really good time and a wonderful trip. And most of it, I can say thanks to Bonnie for that. But I just thank Bonnie for being a good friend and knowing her all these years. I really appreciated her very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Let's see. Whoops. Hang on one second. Anybody else before I start picking on you? Come on up, Mark. I want to hear some stories. You can bring your wife with you if you want to go together.
You have to turn it up for you, too,
Oh, okay.
if you're going to keep talking.
Well, I'm the newcomer, though, Ryan.
Okay. This is Badil. Mark's wife. Or
Hi,
Be-
can
I
you
think
hear me?
Mark's Badil's husband, actually.
I'm one of the tall ones. Hey, so yeah, I'm Bodil. I'm married to Mark Lepp. And Ryan was one of the first guys I got to say hi to when I moved to Sonoma County. I'm from Norway originally. And I will never forget the first time I met Bonnie, because she was the light. She came into the room and with this big smile, and she was so present, and she was such a good listener. She wanted to know all about my family, about my education, about what I like to do, what were my hobbies. She was just that kind of person, truly, truly present, and I will never forget that. We've been through a lot together as friends and family. You are truly a family, and Bonnie was really, I felt like family too, because she was so, she was really real. And it was really hard to hear her passing away because it happened so fast in a way. We knew she had health issues, but we didn't know that it was as bad as it was, and it went kind of fast. So I think maybe, we also raised kids together. Ryan's daughters, two oldest daughters, and our two sons are about the same age. And we had, gatherings. Hannah, your oldest daughter, would come to my oldest boy's birthday parties, and she was the only girl in the crowd, and she would come like a princess, and it was really funny. But she controlled the whole crowd of boys, so that was really fun to see. And Bonnie loved to hear about those birthday parties. There was, she really loved her grandchildren, and it was really nice to her talk so warmly about them all the time. And there's so many memories. The walks in Regal Park and the parties in Regal Park, and we had a really good time. And Mark, I know you loved Bonnie also, and he always speaks so highly about Bonnie being, she would call Mark about, various issues in the house, and Mark is kind of handyman, and he's a fixer kind of guy, and he would be there for her when she needed him. And, I will always think about Bonnie with so much love and greatness, and thank you for doing this, Ryan.
Thank you so much, Badil and Mark have been some of my oldest friends for forever, and I really appreciate it. It's always grateful. Okay, who's next? Byron, you up for a? No? Okay, come on up. I know you got something to say. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
So most of my memories of Bonnie was from when we were kids. I was 12 when I met Ryan and Bonnie. So it's kind of from like she was his mom, Hey, Mark. And I don't have a whole lot to say, other than just my memories of her. The last time I saw her was at the park, and I have kids now too, and I had misplaced my child. And I was like, "Oh, Bonnie, good to see you. Shayla, where'd you go?" And I kind of panicked, and she helped me kind of calm down, and then, we talked for a few minutes. I mean, that's really all it is, but Bonnie was always there through my life, in and out. My biggest regret was not visiting in Italy, because I was in Europe at the same time. And I had plane tickets back home, and I was on the school program, and I look back, and I could have made the time, and I wish I had, but, so that's it for me.
Thank you, Byron. I appreciate it. Jennifer's coming up. Thank you, Jennifer. It's nice to see everybody. Nice to see you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a peer with Ryan, a couple years older. And my first experience of Bonnie, Ralph, and the kids, I was left babysitting for about 7 hours with just enough peanut butter for about 5 sandwiches. And that's all we ate all day. And that was really my introduction to the Bruinslots. And Bonnie has just been a rock for me through the years. She was more like a friend than my mother, although she was my mother's age, pretty much. And our family supported her through hard times. She supported me through hard times. But I've never met anybody in all my psych world that watched my hands as I talked. She always I would, talk with my hands, and she would just be watching those hands. I don't know if anybody else had that experience, but so I would agree with, she's such a being of light, always joyful, looking at the light side. And one of my favorite recent memories, I'm guessing 6 years ago, took a walk with her, and she was just all lit up on fire teaching. And she was pushing 80 by then, just loved teaching, and still inventing curriculum, and so dedicated to her students. And I teach, and I think that way. So she was a real kindred spirit in so many ways, of the way she thought, the way she went about life. And I just really appreciated her in my life. And she was right there for me some real tough times. Just held space, listened, showed up, and watched my hands. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Let's see who else I can get here. Anybody feeling brave? What my mom would say is, do it anyway. Come on up. Hey, Gino. How you doing? So great to see you.
So hello, everyone. My name is Gino and Mutsati, and I'm a former colleague of Bonnie's. She was a fellow teacher at the junior college, and another hat I wore and do wear is I lead tours around the world. And when I first met Bonnie, I was so amazed that she had, first of all, spoke some pretty good Italian, and she had had a whole other life in Italy before coming into teaching ESL. So she was very interested in joining our tour to Italy, to a little town called Urbania. It's a town of 7,000 people, and they have a great language institute. So she was very interested in learning more Italian, and especially joining the group that was heading off to Italy. Now, bear in mind, she's almost 80 at this point, so I think 80. And this was going to be her, didn't have a lot of money, right? So this was going to be something she would put a great deal of income in and investments. So she didn't want to miss anything. So we head off, and we're in Rome, and it's a hot July day, and we're going to go to the Sistine Chapel. And I hadn't been there in some years. When I went there, I was in the actual Sistine Chapel with one guard and one other person. And as we spoke, the guard just kept whistling and saying, "Silencio, silencio," because that wasn't a place where you should speak, right? So we get there. There are 1 million people in the corridors leading to the Sistine Chapel, and I've got Bonnie walking next to me. No air conditioning in these corridors. She's starting to flag, and I think, what are we going to do? We're about a half a mile prior to the Sistine Chapel, it seemed, and she wasn't going to make it. So I head back, and I find out that I can get a wheelchair. And I put Bonnie in a wheelchair, and we go into the Sistine Chapel. Crowded like you wouldn't believe. She's, of course, got the best seat in the house because she's in a wheelchair, looking straight up at the creation of man. And when we had our due, I said, okay, Bonnie, you sit over here next to some tourists, happened to be Chinese, and I got to go return the wheelchair because it had been taken from the entrance, and you had to go all the way back to the entrance to bring the wheelchair. So I go back, and when I return, there's Bonnie speaking Chinese to this couple. And I said, Bonnie, I didn't know you knew Chinese. And she said, I don't. This was a typical Bonnie moment that, of course, she could communicate with anyone. So we continue through, and I said, you want to see St. Peter's, the Basilica? Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Now, mind you, 90 degrees out. We go through the St. Peter's Basilica, and she's starting to swoon a bit. Now, no wheelchair at this point, and she's holding heavily onto my arm. We go out. I said, we've got to get back to the hotel somehow. I had a group in different parts of the complex, and I said, we have to get back. We walk the Bernini, the Bernini Plaza, the columns that surround, and with every step, she's starting to falter. We get to the last column, and she collapses onto the column. So she's sitting there. Her face was as red as a beet. And I go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I notice a barricade, and across the barricade there are police, and they're taking a nap, as they do in Italy. It's 90 degrees, right? And I knock on their window, and I said, we have an emergency. We need an ambulance or something. And they said, we can't help you. And I said, what do you mean you can't help us? We're in Italy, and you're in the Vatican City. So I was across a barricade that was this high, and that was the difference between Italy. So there's nothing we can do. You have to address the Vatican police and ambulance. I see an ambulance, Vatican colors and all, with a couple of attendants. So I started to approach them, and they just said, wait, wait, wait. Meanwhile, Bonnie is just, I thought, really, just get her in the ambulance right now. All of a sudden, across the entire Bernini Square comes this 6'5" soldier. He was basically in a blue uniform with a special cap, and he marched slowly toward us, step by step. Bonnie has no idea this is happening for most of the time. He gets there, and he opens a pad of paper to take the report. And I'm thinking, she should be in the hospital by now, right? And he asked in a perfect Italian, what is this issue? Bonnie opens one eye, and then the other eye, she looks up at this gorgeous specimen, and she says, well, ciao there, with a big smile on her face. Then the paramedics come over, and they do a assessment, the vitals and all, and they said, there's only one answer for this woman. And I said, what is it? Gatorade. And that was it. So we got her flooded with Gatorade. We poured her into a cab, got her back to our air-conditioned hotel lobby, figured she's going to be in bed for 2 days, week and all. And all of a sudden, she looks over at our small group that was gathering there to say hello to her, and she says, where are we going for dinner? And that was Bonnie, indefatigable, always positive, love for Italy like you wouldn't believe. In fact, she wrote a story about her experiences in Italy that was published in a Traveler's Tale magazine that's done tourist travels. Very proud of her connection to Italy. But anyway, Bonnie will be sorely missed. She's a lovely, lovely person, as you all know. And I miss her and think about her quite often. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gino. Thank you, everyone, for speaking. I really appreciate it. Everybody get brave. I want to hear from all of you.
I'm Maureen. I don't feel so cool right now. I'm from the coffee company morning people, Saturday morning people. Pardon? Oh, okay. I'm from the coffee company's Saturday morning group when we used to get to go and sit around inside. And so that's really how I got to know Bonnie, and that's really all I, got to know, except that you don't just get to know that tiny little bit. And so I'm glad you mentioned that thing about the story about being in Italy, because she shared that with me and I read it. And I really felt like I got to know Bonnie a lot better. And then she told me about her trip in detail. Well, told all of us, of course. And that was fun. But the thing, I don't know, Bonnie just makes an impression, as you all know. And I remember her being so tall. And so elegant, even in her, of course, her older age. And I never knew her when she was younger. And she would talk about you and her family. And, she just had so much personality that I just wanted to say, she just is so affecting. And she's missed. I'm here for myself. I'm Maureen, and my walking mate, Callie, she would be here, but she's getting on a plane. And my husband's over at Sturgeon's Mill doing the tours. So really, I'm here for all three people. All of us have been touched so much by her. She even got my husband to go to, what is that thing where you speak? Toastmasters. And my husband doesn't go anywhere and do anything like that. And she got him to go there for a couple of weeks, and he told some of his stories. And I was really just, I don't know, I'll never forget Bonnie, and I'll always feel touched by her. So that's my whole thing.
Thank you, Maureen.
There's one thing I forgot to add when I was there. Bonnie loves Seth Curry. Bonnie loves Seth Curry. And when the Warriors, Bonnie didn't have a TV, she'd call me up, are the Warriors playing tonight? Is Seth playing tonight? Can I come over and watch the game? But Bonnie was a big Warriors fan.
Thank you, Marty. Anybody else? Claudia, feel like saying a few words? No, not today? Okay. All right, thank you. Claudia's been a huge source of support, just answering my constant texts, and I'm really grateful. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Well, Bonnie was, I don't know where to start, but I can tell you that Bonnie touched my life. I'm sorry, I feel strange with the microphone.
Just talk right into the center.
Oh, is it better? Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, I work in the ESL department at Santa Rosa Junior College, and that's how I get the opportunity to meet Bonnie. Over the years, I got the chance to get to know a little bit more about her, and this is why I didn't want to do this. She was a very loving person. And there is a group of friends. Then she used to come to the office, and she loved to have lunch, always like, she tried to take me out, have my break, and she's like, let's go out, I'm in the middle of my work day, and Bonnie's like, is it time for lunch yet? Because I was always glued to my chair. And she's trying to make me move, make me experience a little something, and have a conversation. And she was just so easy to, I don't know, I just always felt connected with her because I felt like it was easy to talk to, and she was so smart and she's so loving, accepting, and I just always felt like I could be me. And she was open and she was always smiling. Like we connected. I think we had a connection, and some of my ESL friends, they are not here, but Jahaira, Giselle, Nedit. There is Giselle. Sorry, I didn't see her at the back. Yeah, she kind of like, I don't know who put together the lunch idea, but she was kind of like the glue. Like she was the person like, let's go to lunch, and yes, and then Bonnie's going, so we're going, and I don't know exactly how this started, but we were going with Bonnie, you know, all these friends going to places with her, and it was just a very enjoyable time. And I can tell you that she had an impact, you know, on me, and towards the last, you know, the chances that I had to spend time with her, I really felt like a deeper connection, and so much so that I even had a couple of dreams after, you know, she passed, and it's like she came, you know, to say goodbye. So she was a good friend. She's a good friend, and she loved my kid, and you know, she was a loving person. So I love her, I miss her, and she's still in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I'm very grateful I got to have my mom. Hey, sis, come on, you can do it. It's my sister. She's going to give us a few words. She promised to make it really short and sweet, so no, you make it as long as you want, sis. I'm really grateful to my sister Stacy for coming all the way out here from Georgia. Missed her even more after Mom passed, and I'm super grateful. Thank you, sis.
Well, my mom's been on quite a few ventures, I understand. We were parted for a while, like over 10 years. I didn't get to see my mom. And, you know, having to take care of kids, you know, putting them through school and all this. And what I enjoyed about Mom, she was always adamant. Stacy, if you don't get on that bus. So she said. But I'm so glad that you guys had spent time, excuse me, to be around the world with her. She did show me the book she wrote. Yeah, she showed me the book she wrote, and especially I liked when she did the child's books. Yeah, I thought that was wonderful too. But I'm just glad everybody showed up, and I hope you guys get some snacks out there. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna get messy. But there's one other thing that she always told me. Keep on always going forward, don't look back. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sis. Anybody else got a few words? Jerry, you got something in you? I know you're a good speaker. How about you, Dad? You up for a few words? Come on. This is my dad, Ralph. I've known him my whole life. Really good guy. That's you there, yeah.
I don't know what to say after hearing all that. Bonnie was a cum laude out of high school, so I met her when she was in college, and my brother was going to UCLA at the time, and he was dating one of her sorority friends. So I got hooked into. I was going to a junior college at the time. I got hooked into going over to UCLA and meeting my brother's Jim meeting his choice of a good date for me. So I remember I had a coat on that my father's wife had built for him, and it was white with sort of a speckled pattern on it. And the first thing she did was take the coat off and take it to the closet. it was you know, a point of issue to take that ugly coat off, you know. So I guess I had to learn about dressing well, but so that's how I met Bonnie, and we later we dated from then on. We went to the snow together and a few other things, and I was transferring. She graduated from college and was working at Rand. So ran as a secretary, and I had gone to the junior college 2 years, and to be on the GI Bill, I had to get a 4-year college. So at that point, we ended up getting married, and she went to San Jose State with me to get my bachelor's. And the first year we lived in housing, you know, that was in the area. The second year we got student housing, so that helped the budget a bit and helped me get through college and helped her tolerate me. So, but the move up here was not very satisfactory for her. I mean, I unfortunately didn't get the message correct when I quit. I was working as a senior research engineer at Lockheed, and I was sort of tired at the Vietnam War and a few other things, and so I quit the job and moved up to where I live now, and she decided to stay in Saratoga a little longer, and I think she was trying to find something different to do with her time than come up and live in the woods with me, because, you know, she didn't like the country. She was used to going out and walking down to the library and, you know, being able to be in a city where she had all the support of the city. But I didn't understand that strong connection when I quit and moved to where I live now. So we ended up getting a divorce, and what you've heard was most of what she did with her life after we were together. So I found her a very creative lady, and we had a beautiful time together when it lasted. And Ryan's one product, and his older brother's the other. So thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Dad. I really appreciate that. I just want you to know you made the right choice. Us kids never once wanted to go back to the city. Once we were in the country, all we wanted to do was run around the woods and play in the woods. So there was never a question in our minds as kids that was the right choice. And I'm super grateful, Dad, and I really appreciate you very much, and just overjoyed to have the mom that I have and the dad that I have, and I'm just grateful. There's just like Sis said, you know, there's no looking back. We are blessed with today, and we move forward with what we have, and take all the blessings with us. Anybody else have something to say? I'd love any more words. Here we go. Hi, come on up, Christy. Thank you all so much.
I'm another cookie company person, and I wore this shirt today because it reminded me so much of Bonnie. She was so impeccably dressed when she was, that she looked at me one day and said, "This shirt says movie," and I take it to be life is a movie. And she looked at me and said, "Christy, where did you get that shirt?" And I said, "The free bag." Well, that was the wrong thing to say. No, she said, "Never wear it again." So this morning I thought, Bonnie taught me the meaning of light and love. Walking into a room, she would just pause and look around with those big eyes, and she was kind of, as Marty said, the maven of the cookie company. She ran everybody and everything there, and she taught me not to worry. We went to the Center for Spiritual Living together a lot, and she fit right in, marched right up to the front, said, "I can't sit next to you. It's about the singing." And I went, "Well, I'm not going to stop singing, so you'll have to sit down in front." She was hilarious. She was honest. She was real. We were like oil and water some of the time, but the love, I was afraid to stand up because I thought I would cry. But now I just realized that she taught me not to worry, and she kept saying for her whole life, and this is like the most amazing thing that anyone's ever said, "Just don't worry." She said, "I've been taken care of all my life, and I always will be." And that message is just transformed my brainiac, obsessive, oh, what about tomorrow, whatever. She just, don't worry about it. Sometimes it was an extreme, like when we went, "Bonnie, what happened to your car?" "I have no idea." And Marty would go, "There's another scrape. There's another," "I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it." And that, the fundamental message, and we had a lot in common. We'd both been to India. But she really just lived her message called, "This is my life. I am not going to spend it worrying." Love her very much. Blessings, Bonnie. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Just overwhelmed with the joy of everybody coming in and spreading the inspiration, and that is what Mom did, and that's what she helped me through some of the toughest times. She taught me to be mentally strong and inspire, and you know, we have this life and we get to live it, and I'm just super grateful for everybody. And anybody else want to come up? Anybody in the back row? Anybody? So I guess from here we're going to go to closing, and then, like my sister said, we have a bunch of hors d'oeuvres and stuff for anybody who would like to stick around afterwards. And also, I did print up a bunch of bookmarks and schedules, and there's plenty for everybody. And I wasn't sure to begin with, but I would love it if you took it for your bookmark, because Mom was a big reader. And thank you very much.
So I'll just, close a couple things. One, of course, I knew Bonnie also through our sons and through the Center for Spiritual Living. I teach a Wisdom Healing Qigong class there, and so a couple of years ago, before COVID, she started coming to that too. So she was always looking to learn new things and to work on healing herself. So, and I thought this is being live streamed and recorded, and so not everybody has the program. So I was just going to read some of the things from the program and then say another little closing prayer. So, this is obviously from the family. Thank you. We are eternally grateful for all of Bonnie's friends to come celebrate with smiles and love in their hearts. Grateful for all the kindness and support. Thank you for moving forward with encouragement, hope, and joy for the future. Make your dreams come true. Believe that anything is possible. Remember, you are loved the way you are. Be bold and courageous. Live well. Laugh often. Love always. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. Hope, perseverance, joy. Live your dream and wear your passion. Take chances, travel the world, live well, laugh often, love always. Strength, faith you can do it. Live your life, laugh lots, smile. I think that summarizes Bonnie's life. So just relaxing into these wonderful memories, these wonderful thoughts, and this urge to go on and just to live, love, and laugh with life each and every moment. We just relax again into ourselves, into that inner silence and that contemplation of all that's gone on here today, just feeling the blessings and being the blessing as we just go off from here today into our lives, feeling this extra little bit of insight, love, and connection with each other here today, with everybody online watching, listening, and whoever watches this in the future, to know what a wonderful gift to the world Bonnie Bruinsslot is and was. And so we just allow Bonnie to be in peace and love and light as we just say, all is well, and so we let it be, and so it is. Blessed be. So now it's time to mingle and socialize and eat some of those snacks that Stacy worked so hard on. And that's it.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Really grateful once again. And so we did it. Eric, can you go ahead and start the music? And then if you want to run the slideshow too, that'd be cool too.